in online, I feel as if I've been able to communicate more with people because of just a click away, and to get that sort of feedback during sessions. It's kind of like being able to talk in the middle of a movie. You never got to do that in class, but you get to do that here at Meridian, which is pretty cool. Want to take a couple minutes. Something that you know really has been on my mind throughout Meridian, and in the news. It's really just realizing how far we've come along in the past handful of years. A lot of you guys might be new, but at one point it seemed as if the rug was being pulled from underneath us, left and right. There was people on the news, on CNBC, in the papers, just completely destroying everything that we believed in that blockchain could provide. And thankfully, with the work of Stellar and others, as well as the work that we've been seeing with Comptroller Brian Brooks, we've seen a lot of progress, positive progress, in regards to blockchain, digital assets, representation, and um, you know, uh, you know, we've still got far to go, but you know what, we've come a long way, and things seem to be on the right track. Some news I saw here, what kind of motivated me to do this, is I saw where crypto friendly Brooks got a nod to serve 5-year term, uh, leading the bank regulatory, which is great. Like I said, I thought he's done a great job. Um, when you read the article, it goes in a little bit deeper, and it says it's unclear whether the Democratic senators or on the committee would vote for Brooks. He's received criticism from several representatives for his focus on crypto, with several members of the House Financial Service Committee asking him a series of questions about his work. Earlier this week, there was some more tidbits out there. You had this article here. U.S. Representatives rip, very strong words, OCC Brooks for excessive focus on crypto. I believe here, when you actually, um, let me see if I have that one. I don't, but there's another one where kind of goes in a little more deeper, where they kind of explain what their issue is with him, just feeling as if that it's too narrow. In fact, they go on and write, and we'll get into this. They go in here and they write a nice letter here, and to be fair, it's about six representatives. So I mean, definitely not the majority, but there were six representatives that wrote this letter. Um, I want to go back to Meridian today, where the positive thing before we go into this is that I believe that there's a lot of positives on both sides, and from what we learned today is that this is not a Republican versus Democratic issue. It's really comes down to you know education, understanding of what's going on. So as you see here, they discuss that uh, it's in their opinion that there's only 8% of Americans that are using crypto, and the growing trend is with millennials. However, based on a survey by the FDIC, there is 6.5% of Americans unbanked, another 18.7 Americans that are underbanked. And during the financial crisis, they talk about the fact that there were mainly about 30% of all minority banks shut down. It kind of goes into further saying that they question whether his view and focus on cryptocurrencies and stable coins is appropriate when there is a pandemic. Um, they talk about his regulation on crypto payment services may have a secondary effect. And then it goes through a bunch of different questions. So, um, to be fair, I mean, what they're asking here is they're requesting a hearing on December 10th, 2020. And in this, they're going to be talking about these several lists of questions here. I'm not going to scan through them, but, how this affects, with stable coins increases results of your interpretive letter, excuse me, Will this increase the digital divide, which is serious, or would it negative impact your project reach, um, and so on and so forth? And then they sign at the bottom. Um, it's my opinion off the back is one kind of going back here where they talk about their constituents, right? I think it's important that we make sure that our representatives understand that it's their constituents that have the biggest amounts of opportunity and gain by having clear regulatory presence when it comes to crypto finance, stable coins, etc. Um, I want to go ahead and play a video, and I think it's important because, especially for our representatives out there, it's really imperative that they understand that the digital train has already left. Okay, this has been going on for years, and I'll show a couple quick examples. But not only that, but when we get past this pandemic, when we get past we get a vaccine and everything's all good and fine, we're not going back to the old economy. We're going to be entering a completely new world, and if the tools aren't here for our citizens to utilize, we are going to be at a huge disadvantage. Your constituents are going to be at a huge disadvantage. And this is just not my thinking. Here is Fed Chairman saying it himself.
I would say it. And in this particular situation, I would worry that the changes, we're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy. And it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers who, as Andrew just mentioned, it's relatively low-paid, public-facing workers in the service sector who are bearing the brunt. This is largely minorities and women, or skewed toward minorities and women, and relatively low-paid. So those people are going to struggle to get back to work in their old jobs. Or
I think that's very important what he's saying right there, because this is what we're seeing. You go to a store right now, chances are you're seeing, fewer and fewer cashiers. You're seeing more machines to do everything. I've seen my local Costco basically, transition over the last 2 months. I've seen more machines and less people. I know at local stores, there's a lot of times the retirees that are working part-time in order to make ends meet and pay for their medical bills. Here's another quick video. This is the CEO of Chipotle.
Digital, and obviously,
and he's talking about a brand new
customers staying home.
Digital
that investment has really
digital restaurant that they're coming
its return
out with,
because now 70% of our business is going through our digital access points.
And I know that your new stores, you've created at many of them these Chipotlanes, these drive-through style lanes where people order on their phones and then are able to just drive through and pick up their meals. Now, I know you've said that those Chipotlanes will really only be on these newer stores, but what about kind of retrofitting the older ones to these, putting these lanes in on these existing locations, knowing what we're dealing with now?
Yeah, sure. So we obviously, it's a big piece of our new restaurant openings, but we're taking the opportunity right now to look at where we can remodel our restaurants and provide that access point where you can order ahead and not even get out of your car and just go to the pickup window. We think there's going to be opportunities to even relocate some restaurants so that rather than just remodel the existing restaurant, we relocate it so that we're able to provide that access point for our customers. But the feedback from our customer and our employees is people love ordering ahead, selecting a pickup time, and just cruising right through, saying their name.
So what he's talking about once again is this. Let me show you this article. So this is November 11th. This is their digital kitchen concept. This is what they're calling. This is what's opening up, a digital kitchen concept. Now, as it says right here, it's unique because it does not include a dining room or front service line, and guests must order in advance. This is the trend. And why is this important? It's important because it's going to drastically change the workforce. And once again, this is not Chipotle's fault. This is what has been going on for years. And I just feel like it's important that our representatives understand this. Here's some facts. This is Restaurant Workforce United States. 1 in 12 private sector workers in the U.S. worker is employed in the restaurant industry. That's 1 in 12. Nearly 50% of all adults have worked in a restaurant industry at least once during their life. And over 25% of adults work their first job in a restaurant. I personally know it's important. When I was starting my business, my wife worked part-time at a restaurant, and we used tips and all those things to get to that next level, right? To get to where we're at right now. So think about how the disappearance of these jobs are going to affect everybody. I mean, think about the people that I employ, people that I pay right now would not exist had I not had the part-time income from restaurants and retail and all these different stores, which are being reduced. So once again, I just think it's important that our representatives understand this. We have a great financial task force, which is bipartisan, which is doing a great job. Maxine Waters was given Representative Maxine Waters was given a shout out earlier today during the Meridian 2020 conference. So that's there, but they need help. They need to make sure that we can keep people in office that are going to have a voice at the table. Talking on that, I want to go to Meridian, and there was a couple of different segments out of the many that I can pull out here that really talked about the impact that this has in financial inclusion. Let me play this one video.
So we did touch on this, but could you guys give some kind of specific examples of how do you two see CBDCs and stablecoins advancing financial inclusion? Because I think that's another one of those, not quite a buzzword, but it's something that people say a lot, but they often don't get too into detail of exactly how these new types of digital assets can improve financial inclusion. So Carmel, could you give us some kind of concrete examples of potential ways that this could advance financial inclusion?
So I think even if you refer to Project Sand Dollar in the Bahamas, what the design is really showing is that you can establish a level of the infrastructure that's open to everyone by design. Now, what kind of regulatory framework that you put around that, and how do you want that that level of engagement directly as a central bank versus having cash providers or other payment providers that onboard people to have digital cash? That's a regulatory choice, but the technology itself can be designed to provide inclusion by design. It flew through channels that people were familiar with, which was their cell phone and a card, right? So that those components really show a proof of value in saying it doesn't matter how much money you have in a bank account. It doesn't matter whether you have a bank account or not. It doesn't matter what you do for a living or how much money you make. You can have a digital way of holding money that is broadly interoperable regardless of where you go in the country. I think that's pretty cool.
Let me explain why this is so important, right? Just from a basic level. What she's saying is that you talk about financial inclusion, you go back to what the representatives mentioned in their letter, is that their concern is to ensure that their constituents, that the minorities in this country, men, women, people of color, have access to the financial system. She's giving an example over in the Bahamas, where they have launched a CBDC, and people in that country, regardless of how much money they have, what their status is, they now have a digital wallet, a bank. They have a bank account right in their hand, and it could get so much more better than that, right? So they have a digital bank in their hand. Now, if we can get this world, this globe to come together on terms here and have some clear guidance, those people in the Bahamas will have access to stocks, to invest in various digital assets, perhaps invest in real estate overseas. It's endless. And this is all from a small island in the Caribbean. So you could only imagine what sort of advantage that would give to our folks here in the States, in the inner cities. So someone was a comment today that of how, our inner cities need these opportunities. That way somebody that's living in a community without much access, the same way they're able to access the Harvard database from their apartment, can now access real estate investment, assets, business opportunities across the globe. That's why it's important. I'm going to show one more video. This was Julie Hanna, and she, I think, had a really good
it's
speech
deep in my
today.
conviction that tech is a potent democratizing force, and that if we can unlock fair access to the advantages of technology and business for the many, not just the few, that we can uplift all of humanity.
And I think that's what gets a lot of people excited about cryptocurrencies and networks like Stellar as well.
You see right there, I think it's just important. She summed it up really well. Tech has the ability to unlock so many opportunities, and that's it. I just wanted to get, my thoughts across on it. I hope that our representatives do follow events like Meridian that Stellar's putting together, giving a full comprehensive, wide range look at all the benefits that blockchain, Stellar in particular, can offer for this planet. So anyhow, that's all. I know it's a little different tone, but anyways, just want to touch bases with you guys. Ciao.